All right, folks, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Pickens County Political Forum, sponsored by the Pickens County Chamber of Commerce and the Chattahoochee Foundation. Of course, this is a nonpartisan forum here tonight. We appreciate your attendance. And we also want to welcome all of our candidates as well. Thank you for offering yourself tonight here, giving up a Monday night to be with us. Of course, we have 8 folks up here who we're going to introduce in just a moment. A few reminders. Again, our process for gathering has been taken by the Women League of Voters, so we're going to follow that format a good bit. We're going to try to be out of here as close to 7:30 as possible, and we will try to stay on schedule. My name is Dave Garner. I do work with the Pickens County Chamber of Commerce as a board member, and I'll be introducing a few more folks here as we go. Just to kind of let you know what's going to happen here tonight over the next hour and a half. Each candidate basically will have about 10 minutes. After I introduce them, each candidate will open up with their opening remarks, which will last about 3 minutes. And then from there, they will have a 2-minute answer to a question submitted by the Governmental Affairs Committee with the Chamber of Commerce. And they will also have 2-minute responses to 2 questions from you guys, from the audience as well, and then a minute for closing remarks. So if my math's correct, that's about 10 minutes per candidate there today. At this time, we'll go ahead and introduce our candidates. First up, to my far right, to your far left, Jerry Barnes is seeking re-election for the Pickens County District 1 County Commissioner in the Republican primary. Jerry worked in the forest products area for 20 years and as an insurance agent for 23 years. He's been married to Marcia for 45 years, and they have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Welcome, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Bart Connelly. He's a candidate for the Pickens County District 1 County Commissioner in the Republican primary. He and his wife, Cindy, have been married 39 years and have lived in the Jerusalem community for the past 14 years. They have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. And we welcome Mr. Connelly as well. Next up is Daniel Bell. He is a candidate for the Pickens County Board of Education Post 2 in the Republican primary. Daniel has worked in the automotive field in service and management. Currently has been an auto collision repair instructor for 7 years at a local tech school. And he has been married for 20 years to Christy, and they have 2 children in school. Welcome, Mr. Bell. Next up, we have Wendy Lowe. She's a candidate for re-election for School Board Post 2 in the Republican primary. She's been a resident of Pickens County for the past 14 years and is married to Steve Lowe, who's a lifetime resident. They have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. Wendy was a paralegal before moving to Jasper, presently self-employed as a bookkeeper for several ministries and local businesses. She's been the chair of the school board for 3 years now. Welcome, Mrs. Lowe. To my immediate left is Mr. Dan Fincher, seeking re-election to the Pickens County School Board of Education Post 5 in the Republican primary. Dan has lived in Pickens County 20 years. He's a doctor of veterinary science. Dr. Fincher has been married to Elaine for 25 years. He has 2 sons, 6 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. Welcome, Dr. Fincher. Next to Dan is Delane Lewis, seeking elected office for Post 5 for the Pickens County Board of Education in the Republican primary. She's worked for 22 years as a classroom teacher and counselor and retired from Pickens County High School in 2009. Also has 18 years experience in the airline industry as well. And we want to welcome Mrs. Lewis for being with us. Thank you. Okay. And then next to Delane, we have Charles O. Hendrix Jr., a resident of Fairmount, Pickens County, and a candidate for the Georgia House of Representatives, District 11 in the Democratic primary. He served in the U.S. Army for more than 20 years. Charles has been married more than 40 years, and they have 3 adult children and 5 grandchildren. Welcome, Mr. Hendrix.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
And finally, to my far left, Rick Jasperse is seeking re-election for the Georgia House of Representatives, District 11 in the Republican primary. Jasperse is retired after being a county agent in Bartow and Pickens County. Married to Marcia for 33 years. They have 3 adult children. Welcome, Representative Jasperse. Okay. All right, so now that we have all the candidates introduced, we will go ahead and start to your far left to my far right. We will start, we've got a couple of microphones that we're going to be passing around here tonight. And we will start down on the far left. Each of the candidates up here, all 8, will kind of just go all the way through, and we will allow them 3 minutes for their opening remarks. We will start with Mr. Barnes. Jerry, you're on the clock.
All righty. Yeah, I'm Jerry Barnes. I've lived in Pickens County for 62 years in the Hinton area. My parents were John Barnes and Sue Barnes. I was born in 1951 at the Old Roper Hospital here in Jasper. Married Marcia Clark. She worked with Mildred Molax in the clerk of court's office and Alvin Young for several years. And when he retired, she retired. So I got somebody good at home to keep the books anyway. I got 3 grandchildren. Got 2 children, Brian and Matt and Sheila. I got 2 brothers, John and Jack, which are both retired ag teachers, one in Gilmer, one in Pickens. My sister is Linda. She lives in Centerville and works at the Methodist Church preschool down there. Upon graduation from high school, I had to go work with our family forest products company, Barnes Brothers Incorporated, which that belonged to my uncle and my dad. I worked my way up to manager there, and before I got over the hill, I guess I would become part owner, and stayed there until '88. I worked 1 year, or about 15 months, with the Pickens County government as recreation director, and that was an experience, but I did enjoy it. Had a son going to college, so I had to find me another job, paid better. So I went to work with Georgia Farm Bureau, worked 23 years with them, to the point where I decided that I wanted to try my luck in politics. I have extensive volunteer effort and civic organization involvement. I helped start the Appalachian Cattlemen's Association and served as its first president in 1986. I currently serve as treasurer for the association. Future Farmers Alumni Association, I was co-organizer with it in 1983. Served as first chairman, and now I'm currently serving as chairman again. I've been with the Hinton Volunteer Fire Department since 1985. I served as firefighter for 3 years, 8 years as chief, or 5 years as chief, excuse me. And on the board of directors until I decided to run for politics when I had to step down.
Excuse me, sir. Your 3 minutes is up. I'm going to have to interrupt you there. I apologize.
That's good.
Okay. Good enough. All right. Mr. Bart Connelly, you're on the clock. 3 minutes.
You ready? Yes, sir. All right. Thank you. I want to thank, first of all, the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on. I want to thank everybody here in the audience for being here to see us. All the candidates will tell you that they appreciate you being here, but we really do. We might have had to give up cutting grass or putting signs out to be here to talk to you, but that's what we like to do. As you said, I'm married to my wife, Cindy. We do live in the Jerusalem area, been there 14 years. We moved up here when my wife got the job as the OR director of the old hospital when it was in the administration building. You go in the administration building now, I can still show you where the OR was. We have 2 children. My son is in the Navy. He just finished 17 years in the Navy. He's still in. He's married, has 2 children. And my daughter lives here in Jasper with her husband and her son. A couple weeks ago at the St. Baldrick's fundraiser for children's cancer, my grandson had signed up to get his head shaved. And I went over to watch him, and I was sitting there, and he said, Grandpa, he said, aren't you getting your head shaved too? So that's why my hair is a little shorter than normal. I was born in Pennsylvania, went through the Boy Scouts there, became an Eagle Scout. I decided to go to school at West Virginia University. It was about 60 miles away, but it got me out of the house. That was my first move from one state to another. Spent 20 years there, only 7 years in school because I loved being in college, but I did get a master's degree in education. Going to find a job teaching, so having raising a family, I went into construction, and I spent the last 33 years, well 33 the last 36 because I've been retired for 3 years now, and I enjoyed it very much. But in that time, the Lord gave me another boot, and he said, son, get out of West Virginia and go to Georgia. So we moved to Marietta. Spent 12 years there, and lo and behold, that's when my wife got the job up here, and he said, go up to Pickens County, Bart. He said, that'd be a good place for you to live, and that was the best move I ever made. Since I've retired, I've gotten a little bit active in different areas around the county. I've been appointed to the Board of Assessors for Pickens County. I'm the chairman for the Adopt a Road program for Keep Pickens Beautiful, so if any of you want to complain about litter on your road and want to sign up to adopt that road, let me know, I'll get you signed up. I'm a member of the Sheriff's Auxiliary, a member of the Chamber of Commerce, a member of the Knights of Columbus and the Men's Club at my church, which is Our Lady of the Mountains. I've enjoyed campaigning with Jerry. We're not going to get into a fight, wrestling match, or anything else tonight, but we can if we have enough TV audience here and you want to see it. We'll figure something out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Connelly. Again, Mr. Barnes and Mr. Connelly are our candidates here today from the Pickens County Commissioner District 1 race. Now we'll move on to Mr. Daniel Bell, who's next. Again, Bell is a candidate for the Pickens County Board of Education Post 2. Mr. Bell, 3 minutes.
My name's Daniel Bell, and I'm running for Post 2 school board seat. I'm born and raised here in Pickens County, lived here my entire life. I currently teach here at the college, been here for 7 years. And at this point, I'm not going to get into all of my background. I hope that what I put in the paper, and people already know that. So I'm going to try to get into my motivations for running for school board. I'm not a fan of having my face put out and going through this, but as a parent, one of my biggest motivations to run, anybody who knows me as a parent, I'm very into my kids' education and take it very seriously. I'm a strong supporter of the classroom, the teachers, and I have felt throughout years here that our teachers they don't have all the resources they need. We see situations where textbooks are not available, and workbooks, things that can go home that even a parent or a grandparent could get. We need these things so that somebody can help these kids be prepared for what they're expected to know. So, I'm all about supporting that. A big area, people that already knows me, I'm a technical education person. I'm a product of technical education, and I see that the past 7 years, basically, when I came here teaching, that I saw a downhill trend, and students coming from the high school into here, and now it's basically at zero. I've watched programs from this school leave here to go to other areas, and what's bad about this county is the school, technical college, is here in our city. And we should see a lot more people. I believe that we're really hurting ourselves as a community by not moving more people into that area. And these motivations is why I'm here. I've been to high schools after high school and other areas and see the same trend. And, and we see, I know firsthand that coming out of this, I was as a full-time senior. I was dual enrolled. I graduated to college and my high school the same year, and it was definitely, I went right out of that and had a good job. So I'm a product of what I'm talking about here, and I want to see that not change a little. I want to see that a lot. We have got to get that trend back up, because if something happens to the school here, it's never going to come back, and you can never get this kind of stuff back. So that is my motivation for being here, and that's me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bell. Okay, next up is Wendy Lowe. Mrs. Lowe, you have 3 minutes.
Actually, it's Lowe.
Lowe, okay.
You're okay, Dave,
See?
because even Steve's family gets it confused, and some of them have an E and some don't. So,
All right.
I thought I was going to be a lot easier after I went from Wheeler to Lowe, just since it's in the middle of the alphabet, and then now it's hard to tell everybody how to pronounce it. So, I am married to Steve Lowe. He grew up here, and we run a ministry called the Joy House, and we started that about 13 years ago. And we really have a heart for the kids in our community, and we just love our kids here, and we want to see them in all aspects of their life succeed. And so one of the things that we did was we chose for me to run for the school board, to try to do everything that we could to improve our education, and keep kids in school. We have 2 of our own children, and Steve, the reason why we started the Joy House is because Steve took in a teenager before we got married, and that is our 3rd child, and that's how we have grandchildren. So everybody always wonders, how on earth do you have grandchildren already? And that's the answer. Since my election in 2010, I really feel like that we've continued to improve things here in Pickens County and continue to be fiscally responsible, while trying to meet all of our students' needs the best that we can with all of the state cuts that we've had to endure over the last several years, and maintained a 180-day school year until this year. And had it not been for really bad weather, we would have continued to do that, where a lot of other counties have cut back on the number of days that we even have students in school. We have been working on doing a total overhaul of the infrastructure for technology, and we also had a very good advanced ed review, and the governance received high marks, so we were really happy with that. And we would just want to continue that, and some of the things that we'd like to do is continue to improve communication with our parents. I think that's one of the things that we really have to do is get parents involved, and it's one of the hardest things to do. So I think it's great that I know that Daniel is very involved with his kids, and if we could just get every parent to be that, it would be amazing what we could do for education in Pickens County. And I'll continue to make decisions that put the students at the forefront of whatever we're doing, and continue to be easily accessible and transparent and open and honest, and be fiscally responsible, because I think that's one of the things that we have to continue to do. We can do very little with some of the money and the cuts that we have, but we are trying to get the most out of that, and I believe our teachers are really helping us to do that, and we want to continue to support them.
All right, so we'll turn over here now. And we have with us our 2 candidates for Post 5 Board of Education, and we'll start with Dr. Dan Fincher. Dr. Fincher, 3 minutes.
I grew up in Cave Spring, Georgia, between Rome and Cedartown. Finished my school, elementary school, high school in Cave Spring. Graduated in 1948. Went to Darlington School in Rome for a year. I was only 15 when I finished high school. So my mother said, "You're too young to go to college." So I went to boys' school in Rome, which to me was a waste, because I wanted to go on. But anyway, after that, I went 1 year at West Georgia College and spent 4 years in the Air Force. Got married before I went into the Air Force, and came back and worked for General Electric some, farmed some with my dad, and then went back to school to become a veterinarian. Finished that school in 1964. I just involved with my remaining classmates at a factory union a few weekends ago for 50 years. So I've had a very full career in veterinary medicine. Along the way, in 1979, the Lord spent some time with me one night and told me I need to run for the state senate. And when I was about 2 hours of that, and I finally got back to bed on Sunday morning, my wife said, "How did you sleep?" She normally never asked me how I slept. And I told her what happened. She said, "You're crazy." Well, I said, "Maybe. But this is what you asked me how to do it, how I slept." So I told you. And got involved in a race with 4 other people, and finally won that race. An interesting thing, you talk about people being unkind to one another. There was 5 of us in the state race, and we all knew each other. Rome's not as big as it is now. It's more like Jasperse. So you know everybody. So one night at one of these forums, all the 5 candidates got through talking with all in our separate cars, and one of the guys said, "Why don't we just meet in town and get in the car together and all ride to the forum?" So that's what we did for about 3 or 4 weeks, and we had fun getting to know each other better. That brings me up to, I guess, pretty close to where I am today. My wife and I have lived here 20 years. and been married 25 years. I have 2 sons. One is deceased, 6 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. Technology is something that I'm fully aware of that the need, and I will continue that later on.
Thank you, Mr. Fincher, we appreciate that. Now, Ms. Lewis, you have 3 minutes.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for coming out tonight, and thanks for the Chamber for hosting this. I know it's a beautiful afternoon, and it was probably pretty hard to drag yourselves in here. I'm here today not as a politician. I've never run for any political office in my life, and I don't intend to run for anything beyond the current position I'm seeking at this time. I'm here as a concerned educator and also as a conservative fiscal taxpayer. Of the 22 years that I have in education, they fall into 2 blocks of time. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in social studies education from the University of Georgia. I have a master's degree in counseling and also a specialist degree in counseling from Georgia State. In addition to that, I have about 30 graduate hours of personnel management and also employee assistance counseling. So that's my educational background. I began in the classroom in 1969. I taught high school and middle school, and then I moved into the counseling office. I've been an elementary, middle, and high school counselor, so I've pretty much seen the spectrum. Most of this time was spent in Gwinnett County schools. I left Gwinnett County Schools in 1983 to go to work for Delta Airlines. At Delta, I was a flight attendant, I was an operational supervisor, and I was the senior instructor for the emergency procedures training for flight attendants. With that responsibility, I developed training, I hired and trained the instructors. I worked with the FAA to ensure that our training was in compliance, and I handled a multi-million-dollar budget. And I did that for approximately 20,000 flight attendants worldwide. I moved to Pickens County when my husband Bob, who's sitting right over there, and I got married in 1999. He was retiring from Delta Airlines, and I was still employed by Delta at the time we moved here. It was a wonderful move for us. We combined kids. I have 1. He's responsible for 5. So that gives us 6 kids in all. They are all married, and they have all had children. So our 19th grandchild was born last week, so I think we win the grandkid race here. Okay. Right after September 11th, I came back to the field of education, and I think I'm almost out of time. So I would like to say that coming back to Pickens County as a school counselor here has been a wonderful experience for me. I totally respect and admire the people who work here, and we'll talk more about that later.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. Now we'll move on to our candidates for the District 11 House of Representatives. And we'll start with Charles O. Hendrix, Jr. Mr. Hendrix, you have 3 minutes for opening remarks.
I want to thank the Chamber for the invite, and people in the gallery came here to listen to us. I'm sure quite a few people had other things they would much rather be doing. My name is Charles Hendrix. I've been a resident of Pickens County since 2005. My family has lived in and around this area since before 1832. Many of my relatives, including my father, are buried at the Crossroads Methodist Cemetery in Cumming. My great-great-grandmother lived in Vickery's Creek, which is now Canton. I've been married over 40 years. My wife, Nora, is disabled with a disease similar to multiple sclerosis. So we know what it's like. 2 of my 3 children and 3 grandchildren, 2 of which attend public schools, also live in Pickens County. I'm concerned for the future for my grandchildren and want to do all I can to make sure they are safe and successful, safe being paramount. I spent over 20 years of my life wearing the uniform of the United States Army, protecting our nation for people in the Constitution. I was medically retired in 1992 due to a spinal injury, and I'm rated at 50% disabled by the Veterans Administration. I still live up to that oath I took those many years ago. I will continue to live up to that oath when I am elected. I'm running for Georgia House Representative District 11 because I'm alarmed at what I have seen coming out of Atlanta in the form of legislation in the last 2 sessions. When elected, I will legislate by setting priorities which I believe will better serve District 11 than what we've seen. Those priorities include local economy, education, and health care. Improving our local economy includes a lot of variables. That includes raising the minimum wage. That will accomplish a number of things. It will boost the local economy because low-wage earners spend their money locally. They don't save it, they don't send it somewhere, they don't buy stocks. This money goes right back into the local economy. By increasing the minimum wage, the roles of people on public assistance will be reduced. People will return to a sense of self-worth to many individuals who have been hurt by a downturn in the economy. I want to focus on bringing manufacturing and high-tech jobs to pay good wages to Georgia. We can surely attract more than gun manufacturers to this state. We need to equip our children with an excellent education, not the minimum. We must invest in early learning, not strip it away. Funding. We need to support and compensate our teachers, not furlough them when we want the best teachers to stay here. I'm strongly opposed to privatizing public education and a for-profit business scheme. It's not going to do our kids any good. And I'm vehemently opposed to arming minimally trained teachers and other school personnel to protect our children from an active shooter. What we need are school resource officers who are technically trained and don't have to leave students in their classroom to go defend the rest of the school from a shooter.
Mr. Hendrix, I'm going to have to interrupt you. 3 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hendrix. And now Representative Jasperse, 3 minutes, opening statement.
Thank you also for being here tonight. Thanks to the Chamber's Governmental Relations Committee for putting this together. You know, the 30 years that I've spent serving many of you are some of the most rewarding years of my life. Working with you to solve your problems and working with you has been a great experience for me. The last 4 years have been different. It's been an honor. It's representing you at the Capitol and getting to know the business down there and work for you. I've been humbled by the honor. It's an honor that's really part of my everyday life. When I'm in the grocery store, in a restaurant, where people come up to me, and it's wonderful that they feel comfortable to do that. To ask me what I can do to help them, or to complain, or to give me ideas about how we should be doing things different in the state of Georgia. When I started this process, I promised a few things. Was to continue to be active in the community, as I always have been, to listen carefully, as I've always done, and to be a hard worker. And I've done those things. You see me all over this district. 80,000 miles my truck has been on the last 4 years is proof of me working for you. In Atlanta, I'm proud to be our voice and represent our values that you hold dear. To be independent, but always thinking about North Georgia. As my kids would say, use your own head. To be conservative in my actions and voting just like we do here. To know that money we're spending is ours. And be wise and frugal with those dollars. And hold our Constitution and Second Amendment rights tight and work to restore them. And limit our government and keep the government out of our personal business. Important things that happened this last legislative session I just wanted to mention was the budget. This year's budget right at $21 billion. Still below that 2008 high level. But you know, since 2008, we've had 500,000 new residents to Georgia. This year alone, we added 21,000 kids to our school systems. Of the new money that went into education, 74% of it went to education this year alone. Another 22% went to Medicaid and peach care for our children, leaving 6% for everybody else. This increase is the biggest increase for education in history, $988 million, without raising your taxes. And yes, some others tonight created and passed a Second Amendment bill, House Bill 60, that will begin to restore rights as Georgians to carry weapons with with a license in more places before. Worked on this bill for 2 years as a result of the questions that I had from people in this district. I hope that you read the bill and not read the HAC and learn for yourself. Governor Deal will be signing this bill Wednesday in LJ at the ETC Pavilion. I hope you can be there. You're welcome to see the bill signing and have a barbecue lunch. One thing that people ask me a lot about too is we also allow for drug testing of SNAP and food stamp recipients if they're suspected of drug use. And thank you. Look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jasperse. Sometimes I'm the sports guy, so I'm loud and I project, but I understand this is not a sporting event, so I try to, just kind of subtly give them their thing, and then I'll jump in, with broadcast voice there. So, well, we appreciate all you guys being here. We got all that, got that out of the way with the opening remarks, and now we're ready to move on to our questioning. And we will stay, for this first question, we'll stay in the order that the candidates introduced. And then as we move into your questions and some of their remarks, we may jump around just a little bit, so it's not always the same person answering first and the second person always answering second. Okay. So the first question submitted from our Governmental Affairs Committee, and we'll start with our two candidates for Commission District 1. We'll start with Mr. Barnes. What is the most important issue or issues facing Pickens County, and how will you address the situation? 2 minutes.
I've picked out 3 different things that I feel are really urgent for this county. One is to keep on working to get financially responsible. Our infrastructure is another thing that we're going to have to work on. We're going into a time where we're trying to get the splosh passed, which is going to take that to get this infrastructure work done. This has been the worst year on roads that I can ever remember. Potholes everywhere you turn. It's just been a terrible time for you. Fire department. We went through a situation where all the insurance companies have started going with ISO satellite imagery, where we used to do a 5-mile radius from each department. We're doing 5 road miles now, so it's cut a lot of folks out, including most of the Salico Highlands, Jerusalem, the Chimney subdivision. They're a protection class 10 now and paying through the nose for their insurance. But if we can get this splosh done, I think that we can get all this stuff, or the big part of it, took care of. It's just a matter of getting it through. Thank you.
To me, the biggest issue, and it's the one that's been in the paper a lot, is the budget. This county has 30,000 people in it, and a lot of the other issues will resolve themselves if the budget is taken care of. Over the past several years, and you've all heard about it, different amounts of money was spent, this, that, and the other, but we can't live in the past, we can't go back and change the past, but we can learn from the past. The government now is on a path to write the budget. And what it took was people like everybody here in this audience coming to meetings and starting to ask questions. Not being mean and vindictive or charging anybody with anything, but just coming and asking questions, where's the money going? We got some very sound people in the office now doing the financial work. If you've been to a commissioner meeting lately, on the board, everything that's spent for the past month is listed there. Every department in the county has their budget and they know how much they spent that month. They know how well they're doing according to the future years. What I would work on would be to keep increasing the amount of money we have in the fund, you call whatever fund you want, the bad weather fund or whatever. I think it's super important that we get away from the TANs, the tax anticipation notes. I think it's wonderful that the county has such a good bond rating that they can get such a low rate on those bonds now, but my idea would be to, over the years, keep increasing the money that we have in the bank so that we can start the year out with money in the bank that we can borrow less and less and less every year. You solve the financial problem, the other problems with the roads, the sheriff department, the fire department, the EMS will come to fruition, and they'll be taking care of themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Connelly. We'll move now to Education Post 2. We have a common theme for this first question. I'm sure you guys can figure it out. We'll start with Mr. Bell. What is the most important issue or issues facing the Pickens County school system, and how will you address the situation?
Now, if you'd have asked me this question a month ago, I would have been real quick to jump right into technical education and go with that, because that's who I am, and that's, as I said earlier, my motivations for doing this. As with any candidate, I'm sure when you put your name out, and I requested information, as much information as I could get from everybody, and I was made aware of some concerns with teacher morale in our school system. And I thought, well, I'll have to deal with this somewhere along the way. And as information comes in, and I debated on how to address this because it can seem like hearsay. And so I want to be cautious about how I express myself about this concern. But I was not expecting to have such a magnitude of openness from people expressing low teacher morale and people leaving, people resigning, people talking of leaving and resigning. And so it has came to the point to where everything else is being overwhelmed, I mean, by this concern that I'm getting. How I can address that, I've researched, I've read about the responsibility of a board member versus superintendent and how this line is drawn. But as a board member, it is a responsibility, and I'm not claiming to be a board member, but it is a responsibility of a board member to bring concerns out so they can be addressed. And we're in that point now, so I can't tell you exactly what I could do about it, but it is an area that is just overtaken me on everything else, and it's an area that's going to have to be addressed before other things that mean a lot to me can be brought out and worked on. So that answers that question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
I think it's continuing to ensure that we have a quality education for all of our students, because we have a very diverse student body. It doesn't just include the kids who are gifted. There are special needs kids, and we have to look at all of those different scenarios. And to continue to retain and recruit highly qualified employees. I think some of the stuff that's come down from the state has made it difficult to retain employees with all of the cuts, and it's really hard to put everything in the classroom that we would like to have in the classroom. And I'm looking forward to this year for the budget. Every year that I have been on the board, we've had to try to figure out what we're going to do to make ends meet in order not to increase taxes for Pickens County residents. And hopefully, what Rick is telling us, we'll get to look at all of that and see where we're going to be and be able to do a lot more than we have been able to do in the past. We haven't gotten that far yet, but we'd like to be able to support our teachers and give support and supplies and enable them to teach well and put more technology in our classrooms. We're trying to get back up to par with that. Most of that really has not been done in some of our schools, so there's a lot to do in those classrooms and to move forward to get us to where we need to be. And I believe all of those things will help us promote an environment that will be conducive to effective teaching and learning.
We'll start with Mr. Fincher. What is the most important issue or issues facing the Pickens County school system, and how will you address the situation? 2 minutes.
To me, one of the most important things is technology. Now,
Yeah, better.
technology is, to me, the top priority. When our children, your children graduate from high school, those that elect to go to college, with the best technology we can offer them today, I feel like a lot of them are behind with what they're prepared to meet at the college level. I think it would be some of the same thing in technology at the tech school, or if any child elected to go straight into the workforce, his technology's gotta be up to standard that everybody else is competing with. Financing is always an issue. As Wendy said, we've done well with the financing, and if we get this extra bonus from the state, then maybe we can have all of the, not all of the frills, but some of the things that will make education better for the students. Maybe we can improve salaries for teachers. That would be wonderful, and I know they would appreciate it. But to me, it's financing and technology would be the two important things.
I'm a rubber meets the road kind of person. And to me, in education, where our rubber meets the road is in the classroom. Our teachers are our biggest asset, and we must value them above everything else that we've got. Technology is great, buildings and beautiful facilities, which we have here, and wonderful environments. Those are all really good. But our teachers are the most important thing we have going for us. And we have wonderful teachers here in Pickens County who deserve our support. Our teachers are under an enormous amount of pressure right now, and a lot of what they're feeling is not coming necessarily from the local level. It's coming down from government regulations, government testing requirements, evaluation requirements that they're placed under. And so what can we do to help them out? I think the main thing we can do to help them is just to understand what they're facing and to listen to what they have to say in a non-threatening way. We're not always going to agree, and sometimes it's okay to disagree, but we need to come together at some point and work like a team. Our ability to work like a team is going to impact our students' experience in that classroom. And so I think we need to listen as leaders.
All right, Mrs. Lewis, thank you. Now we'll move on to our state representative candidates, and we will start with Mr. Hendrix. I'll ask the question. What is the most important issue or issues facing District 11 of the Georgia House of Representatives? Mr. Hendrix, 2 minutes.
I think the most important issue facing District 11 in the Georgia House of Representatives in this state in its entirety is overcoming a lack of ethics, from the governor down to the House of Representatives. I've witnessed legislation that does nothing to improve conditions or address critical issues. Instead, the Georgia House is concentrating on passing a gun bill that the majority of Georgians were opposed to. There was a definite bias displayed in committee hearings that were supposed to help the committee decide on passage of a bill or not, but they disregarded the testimony of those opposed in favor of their own preferences and beliefs. For instance, I attended the Public Safety and Homeland Security hearing. The committee chair stopped the hearing during someone's testimony and asked if a legal representative for the organization, Georgia Carry, would get with a representative and rewrite the bill so it would be acceptable to their members. In essence, what he did was he handed Georgia Carry the bill writing authority so that they could do what they wanted with guns. Guns everywhere in Georgia, bars, churches, airports, schools, everywhere. Everywhere, of course, except the Georgia General Assembly. They have security screening equipment, and they have Capitol Police. So you can't carry a gun there, but you can carry them in the schools. This is only one example of the lack of ethics in our State House, which also includes cover-ups of corruption and firings of personnel who uncover those unethical acts, one of whom was awarded $700,000 at taxpayers' expense. Thank you.
Thank you. The biggest problem in the 11th district is one we've all been aware of for a number of years. It's unemployment. It's jobs. And as I drive around the district, and this is a big district, it goes from here to Dalton, people in this district talk about this. And as Georgia's economy is beginning to improve, people are beginning to get a little bit excited and reinterested in economic development. Unemployment in this district is huge. In Murray County, it's 9.8% today. Gordon County, 8.3, Pickens, 6.7. It's a little misleading in Pickens County because of construction. We have a number of our folks, as many of you know, are out of state working right now. But our job in the General Assembly is to work to create an environment to keep Georgia, as it is today, the best place to do business. And we've done that in the last 2 legislative sessions by keeping these taxes low and really passing 2 years ago an overall tax package that made a big difference. It is abundantly easier to do business here. We do not create jobs in the General Assembly. We create a welcoming environment for small and large businesses. And one thing we've done, I want to make sure I get in, is we have something called the Red Tape Watch. We started 2 years ago, where you as small business members and chamber members can come and tell us if there's a problem that we have caused, or that was caused 15 years ago or 20, that's stopping your business. And we need to know about it. We're 2-3 bills this session that were going to undo a few things that were there. You know, we've also passed this year a Downtown Renaissance Fund that will allow small businesses and chambers and for economic development and historical preservation. It's a fund that they can tap into. You know, I ride around a lot of places and we make efforts to do things they need. In Murray County, they needed natural gas lines. Economic development's coming to northern Murray County. We got them gas lines, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Jasperse. This time we were going to entertain some of the questions that you guys have put together for us. Okay. And we will start with a couple of questions from the audience and continue as time allows. And we will try to end again as close to 7:30 as we possibly can. Speaking of education, and this isn't on the agenda, but I want to recognize a young lady that's with us tonight that represented Pickens County quite well at this year's spelling bee. And I'm going to run out here and put her on the spot. She's freaking out on me. But I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
I'm Brooke Bell.
Brooke Bell, and what school do you go to?
I go to Hill City.
And she was the winner of the spelling bee that was 3+ counties. And so I think she's working around the applause for representing Pickens County. Appreciate Brooke being with us and again talking about education. Obviously that's a big thing. So we're proud of our students whenever when they rise above and beyond there. So hope I didn't embarrass you too bad. I'm sorry. Okay, we will start with 2 questions, and these questions will be for the Pickens County Commissioners, District 1, and we will start, we've got 2 questions here, we'll stay with these guys. First question, we'll start with Mr. Barnes, and then we'll reverse. Mr. Barnes, what are you doing or going to do about the budget crisis that resulted in our spending without checks? What are you doing or going to do about the budget crises that resulted in our spending without checks? 2 minutes.
We're working right now to keep our budget balanced. This year we went from $70,000 when we started last year to $350,000, close to it. We're keep monitoring all the budgets on each individual department. If there's a problem, our CFO is letting us know what the problem is, what's causing it. It's just a matter that we're going to have to build up a little at a time till we can get our surplus built up. We need to be up to about 3 to 4 months with surplus, and we're doing a good job right now. If it hadn't been for the large increases on health care, liability insurance last year, and the storms that we've had, we've been pretty close to what we anticipated doing last year.
What I would do as commissioner would be to work with not just the other 2 commissioners, but work with all the elected officials. Elected officials come to budget meetings and they say they need X amount of money, and if the commissioners can swing it, they get X amount of money. But you also have to, besides the CFO sending them a report every month saying, this is what you had budgeted for this month and this is how much you spend, I would intend on meeting with all the elected officials, as often as possible, just asking questions about the budget, just to keep it on their mind that, hey, we're concerned about it, we gotta do something about it, we gotta do something about it daily. It's not something you worry about once a year, you get your budget passed, all right, I got this much money to spend, I'm gonna spend it through the year. Let's see how much we cannot spend, but still keep the services to our everybody in the county. The other thing would be, to work with the two commissioners that are there, to inform the public, which to me is the one thing that helped the most when people started coming to meetings asking questions. You got to get out to every meeting you can go to. You can't get to all of them. There's just, as we're campaigning, we know we go to every meeting we can, but you can't do it all the time. But go to as many meetings as possible and inform the people that can't get to the commissioner meeting. Encourage them to come to the commissioner meeting and get the information. Encourage them to go on a website, look at the information, but go out and talk to them. Let them know what's going on. Keep everything as honest as you can. Keep everything as open and transparent as you can. And that's how I do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connelly. You can hang on to the microphone because I've got one coming right back at you.
Good.
Second question for our Commissioner District 1, Pickens County Commissioners. What are your visions for economic development in Pickens County? Your visions for economic development in Pickens County. 2 minutes.
Thank you. My main prayer is we don't end up like Cobb County. I lived there for 14 years. It was growing, growing, growing. If you've ever been on Barrett Parkway between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 a.m., you can't go anywhere. I do want to see growth come to Pickens County, and how you get there is have legislation through the state and through the county that makes it conducive for businesses to want to come here. I don't want to, it's a hard way to go. You don't want to have lined up and down 515 high-rise buildings with lawyer offices, and business is in traffic, and we have to make 515 12 lanes wide to manage it. But you work with the business leaders that are here, you work with the economic development in the county. Keep working, just to do it slowly. I don't want to see a mass boom explosion like has happened in other counties, because the infrastructure never gets caught up, the taxes get behind, the county goes more in the hole. It's just a slow process, a steady process of keep bringing in businesses that'll, if they only have 5 or 10 jobs, that's what they have, 5 or 10 jobs. It wasn't too long ago, the company came in right over Confederate Avenue there behind Walmart. The governor was here for the grand opening. They make cameras for heavy-duty equipment. They're going to have 15 to 25 people there. That's the kind of businesses I'd like to see coming into Jasper. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to see growth, but I don't want it to get out of hand. We need to utilize our 515 corridor and keep all this stuff from scattered plumb through the county. We've got people who love to live in the community they're in without being harassed by different things. We need the business. We got to watch what we take in, because we haven't got the infrastructure to do a whole lot right now. I'd like to say one thing, as commissioners we're doing, Rob, myself, Becky, and Jerry Neckertall have been going to a course over at Rome. We're on our last round of it. It's a 4-day course. We go each month, and I've really learned a lot about what we need to do to get the business that we need here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. We'll move from our commission candidates to our Pickens County Board of Education Post 2 candidates. And the first question will be for Mr. Bell. How will you ensure that teacher and parent input will be solicited relative to decisions that will impact them directly and or indirectly? How will you ensure that teacher and parent input will be solicited relative to decisions that will impact them directly and or indirectly? 2 minutes.
Well, communication has always been a concern, and as we see now, it seems like Amberly Godfrey, the communications director, we get more telephone calls from her than we do family members. So obviously, she is working very hard to do that, and I'm not knocking what she does, but if I get a survey, and this survey asks me a specific question, I could write 3 pages on most of this, so it's very hard to communicate by that. I want communication to come through the classroom. A teacher is in direct contact with students and their parents, and then, if it goes beyond that, it gets to the principal. So I want to know, I want my information to come from there. I'm not saying these other means don't work, because they do. They remind us of everything that's going on, and I definitely like that. But that's what my information, that's the advisory council that I would want to make decisions, because that's who we are directly affected. Every policy that's made has to, goes to the classroom. That's where the bottom line is that classroom.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things that we did this year is we really pushed our board members participating in school advisory council meetings, and really push for the teachers to put their input into the teachers that are on those councils, and for parents to be involved with the parents that are on those councils. And that's how we get most of our information. Those school councils are really set up so that they can come back and bring that information back to the board, so that we can deal with whatever issues are going on, apart from people who just call us individually. The other thing that we are working on right now is we're changing our information management system from Power School over to Infinite Campus. Hopefully that from everything we can tell, that system is going to be a lot stronger and a lot better for parents to be able to get into and see, and more teacher friendly. Power School is just difficult to navigate, and the emails that you receive about your kids' grades and different things are not easy to decipher. So I'm looking forward to that, and as always, we are open for people to call us or come join us at board meetings. However, we're all out in the community, and we're at ball games and different things, and we want people to talk to us and just let us know your concerns.
Okay, thank you. You can hold on to that for just a moment, because the next question is for you. We'll go in opposite order here. Our second question for our Pickens County Board of Education Post 2 candidates. How important is staff morale to you as a board member? How important is staff morale to you as a board member? 2 minutes.
Staff morale is really important to me, because my kids are sitting in a classroom with those teachers who are teaching. This year has been a very difficult year, and in that I don't feel like the local Board of Education has had much of a say in what we were able to do about some of the things that I believe are causing morale issues. The state has implemented TEKS and LEAKS, which is the teacher evaluation keys and the leader evaluation keys. We did implement it a year early on a trial kind of basis, so that people could get acclimated to that. The teachers could understand what it was, and the principals could understand what it's going to do to their school, and we wanted people to understand that. Apart from that, I don't know what we could have done any differently to make that any better. And with the state cuts and the health insurance cuts, we're just trying to do the best that we can with what we have and make the best of it. And I know it has been difficult for our teachers. I have several friends that are in the school system, and I hate that for them. We've done everything we know that we can do to try to make that better, and I am praying that next year is a much better year. And like I said, I can't wait for the budget to come out for us to be able to formulate that, and I hope that that's going to help some things and ease up some budgets for teachers.
It is very important, in sort of mirroring what she said. Our children are in these classrooms, and even the best veteran teachers, if the morale is low, what percentage are they actually putting in? If they're searching for other jobs, how much is taking place in the classroom that's productive? And each day that a child is in there, that day can never be, you can never get that day back. And so that is of utmost importance. Now, as a board member, we would have to definitely, you have people from all stakeholders are bringing you information. But bottom line, if the staff and the teachers are not supported, and that environment is not the best it can be, everything else is irrelevant. So to me, I couldn't imagine being in, even having this position, or running for this position, and if I were to win this position, having morale that I could not make positive, because then I would just feel like my position was worthless if I could not do something to correct that, to make it better, because it's all going to end up on the children's plate somewhere along the way, and to me that's unacceptable to be there.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Now we're turning our attention to Pickens County Board of Education Post 5. And first question, we'll begin with Dr. Fincher. Again, I didn't write these questions. I'm just the MC. Why are so many teachers afraid to ask questions about what is going on at the central office? No one seems willing to share the answers to hard questions. I'll ask that again. Why are so many teachers, in your opinion, afraid to ask questions about what is going on at the central office? No one seems willing to share the answers to hard questions. Mr. Fincher, I give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I'm not aware that there's any trouble with teachers being afraid to ask questions. I believe the central office superintendent is open to those teachers. If they have a problem, they can get an appointment and come discuss it with whomever is available to help them with with their own problem. If there is an issue that's creating a problem, the superintendent needs to know it. It will be discussed with the school board, and we can handle that issue in that manner. But there's no need for anyone to be fearful of coming to seek an answer to a question, to a problem that's bothering them at the moment.
I'm an outsider, so this is a hard question for me. I'd rather have one of their questions than I could. I'm not sure what's going on, but I do have a lot of friends who are still in the school system. And as a counselor, they're willing to talk to me in ways that they may not be willing to talk to somebody else. So I do hear a lot of concerns about accessibility, first of all, of the county office personnel, and secondly, responsiveness when there is a question that's asked. I don't have the specifics of that, and so I feel like that's sort of unfair for me to throw that out there without knowing the particulars, but I know that that is a comment that's come numerous times from numerous people. So there's got to be something that's going on that makes the teachers feel intimidated and or threatened by approaching some of the county office staff. And there again, I think what we need to do is go back to, at Delta we call it management by walking around. I think Wendy's talking about being at the games. I think it's being accessible in informal ways in order to hear those concerns, as well as through our formal advisory councils and committees and so forth.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. You can hang on to the microphone. Question number 2 for Education Post 5. This will not be a little bit easier. Let's see. Should the school board be supportive of after-school educational programs outside of the school system? For example, Boys and Girls Clubs, etc. I'll ask it again. Should the school board be supportive of after-school educational programs outside the school system? Mrs. Lewis, 2 minutes.
I think we should be supportive of anything that benefits our students. I happen to think the Boys and Girls Club in particular is a good organization, and that's one that my husband and I contribute to. I think our kids don't all have access to going home to mom who just baked cookies and help with their homework. And so we have to recognize that all of our kids don't have the home support that they need. Whatever our community can provide for them, I think is commendable. Now, do we need to monitor those things and make sure that those kids are in safe environments? Absolutely. But I do support the after-school activities that are carefully monitor.
We should be supportive of it, but I'll qualify that, and if supportive from the school board requires us making financial contributions to those other things in the county, no, we shouldn't, because we have our own financial issues that we deal with within the school system. I would support anything in the county, and I think all the school board would too, if it's going to help our children improve in school and in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fincher, appreciate that. Now we'll move down to the end, to the Georgia House of Representatives, District 11. And we will begin with Mr. Hendrix. And forgive me, I'm right, these have been handwritten questions. Most all you guys have good handwriting, so hopefully I won't stumble on anything here. All right? The question is, what is your position on the new gun legislation as it relates to guns in schools and churches, safe practices for guns in homes with children, and for the provision that allows convicted felons to claim a, quote, stand your ground defense? I'll ask that again. It's a mouthful. What is your position on the new gun legislation as it relates to guns in schools and churches, safe practices for guns in homes with children, and for the provision that allows convicted felons to claim a, quote, stand your ground defense? Mr. Hendrix, 2 minutes.
You know, most people, well, I won't say most people, but a lot of people know I've been opposed to this gun bill for 2 years, for as long as Representative Jasperse has been fighting to get it passed. I have a problem with believing that teachers or janitors in the school system can effectively protect our children. Currently, our education system is already in trouble. Our students aren't learning what they need to be. Yet we want to pile more onto the teachers. Now they're going to play cop. I'm opposed to that. I don't think it's logical. As far as convicted felons being able to claim stand your ground defense if they use a gun to kill somebody, that is true. And what's so upsetting about that is that was relayed to the people that were sponsoring this bill on March 20th before it was even voted in favor of. So they knew that this law was going to allow convicted felons to use stand your ground defense. They knew it ahead of time, but they passed the bill anyway. So if I seem angry, that's one of the reasons I'm angry. When you approach your representative and you ask them about why they are doing something, and you ask them do you really think this is going to make people safer? And the response that you get is, I'm going to expand the Second Amendment, when that wasn't your question, that tends to make me angry. This gun bill is bad medicine, folks. It's not my only issue, though. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I guess you would assume that I'm for it. I'm the bill's sponsor and helped write it. But just real quickly, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's own Truthometer group looked at this bill, and gun rights groups that support my opponent had just hosed the most expansive, terriblest thing that ever was. They said it was mostly false, their claims. Because you look at schools, and today's law, the authorized person in the school system, the principal, can allow someone to carry a weapon in school. You didn't know that, did you? It's 3 lines long. We took that 3 lines and made it 60 lines long, where the school board will now be involved, where training would be involved, where background checks are done, where you couldn't force an employee, and how weapons would be used and who would use it, and training and all this good stuff. Like I said, good common sense. Talk about churches and this gun bill are opt-in. You know, churches are private property. The people that go to those churches have a right to decide whether or not they'd like to have a weapon there or not. This bill gives them the opportunity to do that. It doesn't discriminate on how wealthy the church is, whether or not they can do that. The stand your ground thing is just absolutely wrong. When we look at this bill, what it did is it gives you the ability to use self-defense as the defense. Now, does that include some felons to be able to use self-defense? It absolutely does. But you have to understand, the felon, if they have a weapon, is a violation. It's against the law. So that takes away their self-defense statute. It's a complex piece of legislation, and that little part of it. The stand your ground is not part of it. It's been ruled by numerous lawyers that it's not. Oh, I'm probably leaving out something. Any other? That's it. By the way, if you want to come see it signed Wednesday, my time's up at ETC.
Thank you. And you can hang on to the mic. Second question coming your way. And we might be able to get another round in here, we'll see. Second question, Representative Jasperse. Common Core in education was in the news a lot this year. What are your thoughts on this, for or against? I'll ask it again. Common Core in education was in the news a lot this year. What are your thoughts on this, for or against? 2 minutes.
Real quickly, so everybody will understand, Common Core is education. It's standards. And what standards were we going to apply to Georgia's children? There's been lots of discussion. We took money during the economic downturn, during the recession, to implement Common Core standards in Georgia. But one thing that happened this past legislative session is people really started looking at it. And Governor Deal immediately, seeing the controversy, executive order to make the State Board of Education look at Common Core, make sure that they are our standards, and that anything, the standards that are put there represent the beliefs and values of Georgians. They haven't came back with that yet on the 2 parts of math and English, and I look forward to seeing that. But one thing that I did, along with Speaker Ralston and LJ, is we wanted to know more. And we did a resolution, a study committee that's going to look at Common Core this summer, and something else, like if you don't like the Federal Department of Education, this might interest you, to look at the Federal Department. Do we need it? And if we get rid of it, how can we get those dollars to go to Georgia? But we also got to look at, do we have to pay those federal dollars to Common Core back? And, hey, good, like I said, 0. You know, do we have to pay it back? Hopefully we do not, but we've got to know that. But we've got to ensure that the standards that we, the State Department of Education, puts to the school system to educate represent us, and not New York, California, but they've got to be us. And then one thing that's out there too, the schools don't like, is that we've changed this business 3 times in the last 5 years. It's very frustrating for teachers. So I think we're taking a step back and taking a very careful look at that. But we do want high standards so that our children do graduate with great educations in our state.
I am for Common Core standards. I'm for it because they establish not necessarily a revolving door, but a program that can be adapted to the needs of our students rather than the needs of our politicians. Common Core was developed by professional educators from across this nation. It's recognized in most states as being a standard to prepare our students for college and the workforce. If Georgia is going to ignore the Common Core standards that are accepted nationwide, where is that going to leave our students when it comes to them competing with the rest of the nation? That's why I support it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hendrix. We appreciate that. We're beginning to run out of time, but we've promised each candidate a 1-minute closing statement, and in doing that, by my watch, it'll take us right at 7:30. We do want to invite, and we're certainly not going to put our candidates on the spot because we know it's been a long day already, but again, a lot of you guys have submitted questions that we're unfortunately not going to be able to get to because of time, and if you guys want to make yourself available for folks to come talk to you, I know they would certainly appreciate that, but we'll leave that up to you guys. With that, we will go ahead and begin our closing statements, and we will start back over with our Pickens County Commission District 1 candidates. You guys will have 1 quick minute on the clock to say some final thoughts. And again, we appreciate you guys being here. And we'll start with Mr. Jerry Barnes, and we appreciate you being here. Mr. Barnes, 1 minute closing statement.
Okay. I appreciate everybody coming out. I would like to invite you to one of our board meetings. It's on the third Thursday at 5:30. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised because it's pretty transparent. I mean, anybody can come in and see what's going on in the county. And Max, I want to tell you, I didn't get to this part during my introduction. I do belong to the Hinton Methodist Church. I am chairman of the trustees and choir director. I was thinking the other day, what are you going to finish with? And I says, well, I don't know. My son come down and we went to the old home place, and he went up in the attic. And he come down with a 1966 Pickens County Progress. And I got to thinking, I says, well, what do you people think about you when you get done? I started looking at the folks through here, Benny Townsend, Herbert Ray, Doug Lawson, people had gone. And I was just amazed, you know. That's what I want people to think about me. And I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Mr. Connelly, appreciate you being here as well. We'll give you a closing statement.
Closing statement will be pretty brief. If you're not registered to vote, you lost your chance. Today was the last day. Early voting starts next Monday. There is a Saturday voting on May the 10th. The primary is May 20th. That's 5 days before my anniversary. It would be a wonderful anniversary present you guys could help me give my wife by voting for Bart Connelly for District 1 Commissioner. In my last 30 seconds, when we start this meeting, I'm used to coming to meetings in here, and there's two things we do. We pray, we say the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd like you all to stand with me. Our prayer is we thank God for what He's given us, and I'd like you to stand with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
And we won't count that last part against your time. It's a good thing to do, good thing to do. Okay, now we'll move on to our candidates for Board of Education Post 2. 1 minute closing statements. We'll start with Mr. Daniel Bell.
First thing, since I didn't tell a lot about my background, for anybody who does not know it or hadn't read about me, I will stay, and you can talk to me as long as you want to, and I'll tell you anything you need to know. But I guess as a closing statement, I don't promise to have solutions to everything. I'm just a single person, and I have a vision of where I'd like to see education moving toward. I do feel that the people that work for this system are professional people, and I think in professional manners, with respect for each other, you can work together, accomplish goals, and create atmospheres where people are proud to work here. And we would like to, I'd like to know that other people from other areas would want to work here. So that's basically, if your vision is the same as mine, I would appreciate your vote, and that's the only way I'd ask you for your vote.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bell. Ms. Wendy Lowe, 1 minute closing remark.
I would just like to say I'll continue to work hard to do what's right for our taxpayers and to do what's right for our students and stay focused on the students and keep them at the forefront and be fiscally responsible. I feel like that our current board works really diligently together, and we work really hard to implement strategic plans and to try to get on the same page to implement the best plan of action, and we want to continue those successes. I think that you could vote for myself or for Daniel. I really think the only difference is that I've been there for the last 3 years, and it'll be a big learning curve. I would feel completely comfortable handing over the reins to him. So I just ask that you think about what you would want to continue to see done, and I just feel like I'm just a little bit more qualified, having been there and done that for a little bit longer. Thank you, and I ask for your vote.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Lowe. Appreciate that. And we'll get some closing remarks from our Post 5 candidates. We'll start with Dr. Dan Fincher. 1 minute.
First of all, thank you for letting me serve these past 3 years, maybe 4 years in the school board system. It's been an exciting adventure to me. I didn't know I had such a heart for young people in our county. Not only the county, but everywhere. It's taught me a lot. I think with the 4 years experience in the school board, I've learned how to help people more. Learn how to listen better to teachers' needs and to help them. I thank you for your confidence you placed in me. I would ask that you would vote for me this coming May. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fincher. Now, Ms. Delane Lewis will have 1 minute closing remark. Ms. Lewis.
Again, thank you so much for coming. I would like to go back to the point about our teachers and remind you that every time we take time away from them for reports and meetings and evaluations and so forth, this time we're taking from our kids. And so we need to respect our teachers' time and try to make sure that we are valuing them as people more than we are valuing test scores. I think that's important. I didn't get a chance to say much about my fiscal position. My last name, maiden-wise, was McAllister. That's very Scottish. And I'd like for you to hold that stereotype in your mind, because I'm pretty frugal with my own money, and I promise to be just as frugal with your tax dollars. I would appreciate your support, and thank you for your time.
All right, appreciate that, Mrs. Lewis. Now we'll move on to our final two, our Georgia House of Representatives District 11 candidates. We'll get a closing remark from Mr. Charles Hendrix first. Mr. Hendrix, 1 minute.
Well, first I'd like to offer Mr. Jasperse a copy of the Senate research report that verifies everything I told you tonight, dated March 20th, the same day the bill was voted on. I'll be happy to provide that to you. I simply request you weigh what I have said tonight and visit my website. My platform has been clearly stated. I have nothing to hide. I think Pickens County can be a vibrant, productive, and safe community with the right leadership in Georgia government. I ask for your support and vote in November and give them the chance to legislate on issues, to make improvements to our community, not pander to a club I might belong to. We can do better. We have problems in education, our economy, and unemployment, and many other areas. I want to help to correct these problems if you give me the chance. My website is easy to find, Hendrix or GAHouse.com. I want to thank you all for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrix. And 2 minutes for Representative, or excuse me, 1 minute for Representative Jasper's closing remark. 1 minute.
Again, thank y'all for being here also. It has been an honor to serve you for the last 4 years. I know it's a long way off, but I ask for your vote in November. I'd love for you to put a sign in your yard to tell Marcia and I with this election, and please talk to us. We'd love to help you. Because I'm excited about Georgia and its future in our district. As our economy recovers, Georgia's a good place to be. It's because of the sound fiscal and job creation policies that we've reacted in the last few years that have made us the place where Site Selection Magazine has made us the place to be in Georgia. The General Assembly has addressed many issues this past session that my opponent doesn't think we have. I've got a great little handout here, 40 issues, it's 40 bills over 40 days. If you'd like a copy of it, I can email it to you. Marcia can fix you up. I have a great website that's easy to find. Just type my name in Google, you'll find all sorts of things, or rickjaspers.org, and you'll find all the phone numbers and contact information to get a hold of me with. I ask for your prayers that I do what you sent me there to do, and you keep Marcia and I in your prayers and keep us safe while we drive all over this district. And thank you for becoming an informed voter tonight.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate that, Representative Jasperse. How about a big hand for all of our candidates? I think we kept things pretty civil, so we appreciate it. Appreciate you guys taking time out, absolutely. Denise, you have something?
Yes. Just a real quick thing, just for you that don't know me, I am Denise Duncan, President of the Pickens County Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I do want to thank my Government Affairs Chair and Co-Chair for putting this together, as well as the entire committee. This is a new committee for the Chamber of Commerce, so this is something new that we are doing for the community. There were a lot of questions that were not answered tonight. I know that there were several of the candidates that came in. This is one of many of the forums I know that they've had to attend, answer a lot of questions, but there were a lot of questions that remained unanswered that I know that the individuals that are here would like to be informed, and rather than keep everyone here all night, as well as yourselves, what we will be doing is taking these questions back to the office, sending them to the candidates, and if you do not mind, answer them, send them back to the chamber. They will be made available. If you are a chamber member, you will be able to receive this information through our governmental affairs. If you are not a chamber member, contact the chamber. We will be happy to share this information with you. So we do apologize for the time frame, but we did this to be conscientious of your time as well as our candidates. So that's the way we will handle that. We do have the questions. We have a stack here. We have a stack, and we do appreciate the response and the attendance. And we will, as I said, we will give it to the appropriate candidates, and we would ask that you, if you would like, to answer the question, and then you can contact the chamber to get the responses that we receive back from the candidates.
We might even apply those to the news media if they would like to have them. So
Yeah, any of the news media that are here that would like the responses, we'll be happy to share with us as well. So again, thank you for all being here, and I do apologize that we couldn't get all the questions answered tonight.
With that, we'll adjourn. Again, we appreciate you being here with us tonight, and have a safe trip home. Thank you very much.